She was 16 years old when she ran straight into a group of bikers and begged them to save her life. Her knees hit the gravel, her voice cracked. Behind her, footsteps were getting closer. "Please," she gasped. "He won't stop. He's been following me for weeks." The bikers froze, 5 of them. Leather jackets, motorcycles lined up like steel soldiers. They looked at her face, scratched, wet with tears, shaking, and then they looked past her. A man stood at the edge of the parking lot, 30s, calm, hands in his pockets, watching. You need to understand something. This wasn't random. This wasn't the first time he'd found her. And if those bikers hadn't been there that afternoon, this story would have ended very differently. Let me take you back. Her name was Keisha Jackson, 16, high school junior in Atlanta, Georgia. Normal kid, good grades, kept to herself mostly. Walked home alone most days because her mom worked late shifts at the hospital. She first noticed him 3 weeks earlier. Black car, always parked across the street from her school. Same spot, same time. At first, she thought it was a coincidence. Then, the messages started. Unknown number, no name, just observations. You look tired today. Blue hoodie looks good on you. You should smile more. She blocked it. He got a new number. She blocked that one too. He sent another message from a different app. Then an email. Then a comment on a photo she posted 2 years ago. He wasn't just watching. He was studying her. Keisha told her mom. Her mom said she was probably overreacting. Told her to stay off her phone so much. Keisha went to the school counselor. The counselor suggested she document everything, but didn't call anyone. She felt like she was going insane, like maybe she was overreacting until the day she saw him standing outside her bedroom window. It was late, past midnight. She woke up to use the bathroom and saw him through the glass, just standing there staring. When she screamed, he walked away slowly. No rush like he had all the time in the world. Her mom called the police. They came, took a report, said they'd keep an eye out, but there were no cameras, no proof he'd been there, just her word. The officer told her, "Unfortunately, unless he makes physical contact or threatens you directly, there's not much we can do." She stopped sleeping, started looking over her shoulder everywhere she went. Her grades dropped. She stopped going out with friends. She was disappearing into her own fear. And he knew it. The messages got bolder. "I know you're scared. You don't have to be. We're going to talk soon. Just you and me. Stop ignoring me." That last one came with a photo. Her taken that morning walking to school. That's when she knew he was escalating. The day it happened, she stayed late at school working on a project. The sun was already setting when she started walking home. She kept her head down, earbuds in, trying to blend into the sidewalk. Then she heard it, the engine. She turned. The black car was crawling behind her. Slow, deliberate. Her heart slammed against her ribs. She walked faster. The car sped up. She started running. He got out. She didn't look back. She just ran through neighborhoods, past houses. Her lungs burned. Her backpack slammed against her spine with every step. The streets turned into dirt roads. The city thinned. Ahead, she saw them. Motorcycles parked outside a bar on the edge of town. Men and women standing around talking, laughing. She didn't think. She just ran toward them. Her legs gave out. She fell hard. Dust in her mouth. Gravel tearing her palms. And then she looked up at 5 strangers and said the only thing that mattered. "Please, he's right behind me." The man in front, tall, gray in his beard, boots planted firm, looked at her, then past her. The stalker had stopped at the edge of the lot, standing there staring, waiting. The biker's voice was low, steady. "Get inside." One of the women helped Keisha to her feet and pulled her toward the building. The others stepped forward, forming a wall between her and the man who'd been hunting her for weeks. The stalker smiled like this was all just a misunderstanding, but the bikers didn't smile back, and that's when everything changed. Inside, Keisha couldn't stop shaking. The woman who'd pulled her in sat her down on a worn couch in the back room. Her hands were gentle, but her eyes were sharp, like she'd seen this before. "I'm Maya," she said. "You're safe now. Breathe." Keisha tried. Her chest felt tight. Her palms were bleeding from the fall. Maya cleaned them with a first aid kit, not saying much, just letting the silence do its work. Outside, voices rumbled, low, controlled. The bikers were still out there. The man who told her to get inside walked in a few minutes later. He pulled up a chair, sat down across from her, and waited until she looked at him. "I'm Jack," he said, "and I need you to tell me everything." So she did. She told him about the messages, the car, the figure outside her window, the police report that went nowhere. The way her mom didn't fully believe her. The way everyone kept saying she was overreacting until she started to believe it herself. Jack didn't interrupt. Didn't look at his phone. Didn't glance away. He just listened. When she finished, he nodded once. "What's his name?" Jack asked. "I don't know," Keisha whispered. "I've never met him." "I don't know how he found me," Maya leaned forward. "Did he ever say anything that felt personal, like he knew you from somewhere?" Keisha thought back. Her stomach twisted. "He said once in a message that he'd been watching me for a long time, that I didn't notice him, but he noticed me, that we were meant to meet." Jack's jaw tightened. "He's not random," Jack said. "Guys like this, they don't just pick someone off the street. They fixate. They study. They convince themselves there's a connection that doesn't exist." Keisha's voice cracked. "Why me?" Jack looked at her with something close to sadness. "Because you were kind or quiet or alone at the wrong time. It doesn't matter. It's never about you. It's about him." The next morning, the crew gathered around a table in the shop. Keisha was asleep on the couch in the corner, finally exhausted enough to rest. Jack spread out everything they knew. It wasn't much. Black sedan, no plates visible in the photos Keisha had managed to take. A man in his 30s, average height, brown hair, nothing that stood out. But Ben, one of the riders, older guy with a scar across his knuckles, spoke up. "I've seen that car before." Everyone looked at him. "2 nights ago," Ben continued, "parked near the highway exit off Veterans, just sitting there, engine off. I only noticed because it was late, and there was no reason for anyone to be there." Caleb, the youngest of the group, pulled out his laptop. "Give me a second." His fingers moved fast across the keyboard. He pulled up traffic camera footage from that area, archived from the city's public database. It took him 20 minutes, but he found it. The black sedan. Same one parked exactly where Ben said. And when Caleb zoomed in on the plate, it was registered to a rental company out of Florida. "Got a name," Caleb said. He turned the screen. Derek Malone, age 34. Last known address, Miami, Florida. Jack leaned closer. "Run him." Caleb's fingers flew again. Social media, public records, court documents. What they found made the room go quiet. Derek Malone had been investigated twice before. Once in Alabama, once in South Carolina, both times for harassment, both times the cases were dropped. Either the victims stopped cooperating, or there wasn't enough evidence to press charges. One of the victims had written a blog post about it years ago. Caleb found it buried in an old forum. She described the same pattern. Messages showing up where she worked, following her home, making her feel crazy because he never technically did anything illegal, just existed in her space constantly until she moved states to get away from him. Maya read over Caleb's shoulder and swore under her breath. "He's done this before," she said, "and he's gotten away with it." Jack stood up, hands flat on the table. "Not this time." Ryan, quiet until now, spoke up. "We need to be smart. If we go after him and it gets messy, we're the ones who end up in cuffs." Jack nodded. "I know. We're not touching him. Not yet. But we're going to find out exactly where he is, what he's planning, and we're going to make sure he knows he's being watched." Ethan, the mechanic, crossed his arms. "And if he doesn't back off," Jack's voice dropped, "then we make sure the cops can't ignore him anymore." They spent the rest of the day tracking Derek's movements. Caleb found the motel where he checked in under a fake name, David Miller. 2 weeks ago, the same week Keisha's messages started. Ben and Ryan rode out to scout it. They didn't get close, just watched from a distance, took photos, noted the room number. When they got back, Ben tossed a USB drive on the table, got something. He pulled footage from a gas station across from the motel. It showed Derek filling up his car 3 days earlier, but more importantly, it showed him standing at the pump, staring at his phone, and in the reflection of the car window, you could see what was on the screen. Photos of Keisha, dozens of them. Maya's face went hard. He's obsessed. Jack looked at the screen for a long moment, then turned to the group. "Here's what we know. He's not leaving town. He's not backing off, and he's escalating." He looked toward the back room where Keisha was still asleep. She can't go home. Not yet. He knows where she lives. He knows her routine. If she goes back, he'll be waiting. "So, what do we do?" Caleb asked. Jack's expression didn't change. "We become the thing he's afraid of." "Before we go on, I want to ask you something. From which city and country are you watching this? It amazes me how far stories like this travel, and how many of you have seen something like this happen to someone you know." Keisha woke up to the sound of voices. For a second, she forgot where she was. Then it all came back. The running, the fear, the strangers who'd pulled her inside. She sat up. Maya was standing near the door talking to Jack in a low voice. "Morning," Maya said when she noticed Keisha was awake. "You hungry?" Keisha nodded, even though her stomach felt like a knot. They gave her coffee and toast. She ate slowly, listening to the bikers talk in the next room. They were planning something. She could hear the seriousness in their voices. Jack came in after a while and sat down across from her. "We found him," he said. "We know where he's staying. We know his real name, and we know he's done this before." Keisha's hands tightened around the coffee mug. "What happens now?" Jack leaned forward. "Now we go to the police the right way with evidence they can't ignore." For the first time in weeks, Keisha felt something that almost resembled hope. 2 hours later, they were at the Atlanta Police Department. Jack went in with her. Maya stayed close. They brought printed photos, the traffic cam footage, Derek's rental agreement, and the blog post from his previous victim. The officer at the desk listened, took notes, passed them to a detective. Detective Ramirez was a woman in her 40s. Sharp eyes, no-nonsense energy. She reviewed everything they'd brought. "This is good," she said. "This is solid evidence of stalking behavior." Keisha exhaled. Finally, someone believed her. Ramirez made copies of everything. She said she'd open an official investigation. She'd get a warrant to search Derek's motel room. She'd bring him in for questioning. "We'll handle it from here," Ramirez said. "You did the right thing coming to us." Keisha felt lighter than she had in weeks. Jack nodded, shook the detective's hand, and they left. On the way back to the shop, Keisha smiled for the first time. "Thank you," she said. "I don't know what I would have done without you." Jack didn't smile back. He looked thoughtful, cautious. "Let's see how this plays out," he said. The next day, Keisha stayed at the shop while the bikers kept watch. She called her mom, told her she was safe, told her about the police report. Her mom cried on the phone, said she was sorry for not believing her sooner, said she'd take time off work and come get her as soon as the police said it was safe. Keisha hung up, feeling like maybe, just maybe, This nightmare was ending. That afternoon, Detective Ramirez called. Keisha answered on speaker so Jack and Maya could hear. "We executed the search warrant this morning," Ramirez said. "We found his room. We found his car." Keisha's heart pounded. And there was a pause. He wasn't there, and he'd cleared out. No clothes, no laptop, no phone, nothing. The hope drained out of the room like air from a punctured tire. "What does that mean?" Keisha asked, her voice shaking. "It means he knew we were coming," Ramirez said carefully. "We are issuing a warrant for his arrest, but right now we don't know where he is." Jack's jaw clenched. How did he know? "I don't know," Ramirez admitted. "But I need you all to stay alert. If he contacts you, call me immediately." She hung up. Keisha stared at the phone in her hand. "He's gone," she whispered. Maya put a hand on her shoulder. "That's good, right?" "He ran. He's scared." But Jack shook his head slowly. "No. Guys like him don't run because they're scared. They run because they're planning something else." That night, Keisha couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about what Jack said. Kept imagining Derek out there somewhere watching. Waiting. Around midnight, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Her breath caught. She almost didn't open it, but she did. The message was short. "You thought you could hide. You thought they could protect you. But I'm still here and I'm closer than you think." Keisha's hands shook so hard she dropped the phone. Maya heard the noise and came running. She picked up the phone, read the message, and immediately showed Jack. Jack's face went cold. "He's not gone," Jack said quietly. "He's been watching this whole time." Caleb traced the number. It bounced through 3 different servers, routed internationally, untraceable. "He's using a VPN," Caleb said. "Could be sending this from anywhere." But Ben, standing near the window, suddenly went still. "Or he's sending it from right outside." Everyone turned. Ben pointed through the glass. Across the street, parked under a broken streetlight, was the black sedan. Engine off, windows dark, and through the windshield, barely visible in the shadows, was the outline of a man watching. Jack moved fast. He grabbed his jacket, gestured to the others. "Stay with her," he told Maya. Then he and the other riders pushed through the door and walked towards the car. The moment they stepped outside, the engine roared to life. Derek didn't wait. He peeled out, tires screeching, disappearing into the night before they could reach him. Jack stood in the middle of the empty street, fists clenched, breathing hard. When he came back inside, his voice was low and controlled. "He's playing with us." Keisha's voice was barely a whisper. "What do we do?" Jack looked at her, then at the rest of his crew. "We stop playing defense," he said, "and we start hunting him back." Maya sat down next to Keisha, her voice steady. "You're not alone in this. We're not letting him win." But Keisha couldn't stop staring at her phone. At the message still glowing on the screen, "I'm closer than you think." And she realized something that made her blood run cold. He wasn't running. He was circling, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The next morning felt wrong. Keisha woke up to sunlight coming through the window, but it didn't feel warm. It felt exposing, like she was visible to something she couldn't see. Maya brought her breakfast, but Keisha barely touched it. "You need to eat," Maya said gently. "I can't," Keisha whispered. "He was right outside. He's been watching this whole time." Maya sat down beside her. "And we chased him off. He ran." "He always runs," Keisha said, her voice hollow. "But he always comes back." Jack called Detective Ramirez and told her about the message in the car outside the shop. Ramirez sounded frustrated. "We've got units looking for him. His face is in the system, but until we locate him, there's not much more we can do. Not much you can do, Jack repeated slowly. A 16-year-old girl is being hunted, and you're telling me there's not much you can do. I understand your frustration, Mr. Morrison, but Jack hung up. He stood there for a moment, staring at his phone, then looked at the others. We're on our own, he said. That afternoon, Keisha's mom called. She was crying before Keisha even said hello. Baby, I got a call today from a man. He said you were in danger, that the people you're with are criminals, that I need to come get you right now or something terrible is going to happen. Keisha's stomach dropped. Mom, no. That was him. That was Derek. How do you know? Her mom's voice was shaking. How do I know you're safe? How do I know these people aren't? Mom, please? Keisha begged. They saved me. The police know where I am. I'm safe here. There was a long silence. I don't know what to believe anymore, her mom whispered. I'm coming to get you tomorrow. Mom? The line went dead. Keisha sat there, phone in her hand, feeling the walls close in. Derek wasn't just coming after her anymore. He was coming after everything. Maya found her sitting on the floor, knees pulled to her chest, staring at nothing. He called my mom, Keisha said. He's trying to make her think you're the bad guys. He's trying to isolate me again. Maya crouched down in front of her. That's what manipulators do. They twist everything. They make you question who's safe and who's not. What if my mom doesn't believe me? Keisha's voice cracked. What if I lose her, too? You won't, Maya said firmly. We'll talk to her. We'll show her the police report. She'll understand. But Keisha shook her head. You don't know her. She's already scared. If she comes here and takes me home, I'll be alone again. And he'll be waiting. That night, things got worse. Caleb was monitoring social media, something he'd been doing since they found Derek's name. He'd set up alerts for any mention of Keisha's accounts or Derek's aliases. Around 9 p.m., his laptop pinged. Guys, he said, voice tight, you need to see this. Everyone gathered around. Someone had created a fake profile using Keisha's name and photo. It had posted 12 times in the last hour. Messages that made her look unstable, dangerous, like she was lying about everything. I made it all up for attention. The bikers are holding me here. My family is trying to save me, but I won't listen. Keisha stared at the screen, her face draining of color. That's not me, she whispered. I didn't write any of that. We know, Jack said. But other people won't. Already the posts were getting comments. Friends from school, people who knew her. Some believed it, some were confused, some were calling her names. Caleb tried to report the profile, but it would take time to get it taken down. He's destroying my life, Keisha said, her voice breaking. Even if he never touches me, he's destroying everything. Maya pulled her into a hug, but Keisha couldn't stop shaking. I can't do this anymore, Keisha sobbed. I can't keep running. I can't keep hiding. Nothing works. He's everywhere. Jack stepped outside to clear his head. Ben followed him. This is bad, Ben said quietly. I know. If her mom shows up tomorrow and takes her, and this guy is still out there. I know, Jack said again, sharper this time. Ben was quiet for a moment. What are we going to do? Jack didn't answer right away. He stared out at the dark city, the distant glow of the skyline, the empty highway cutting through the night. We're going to find him, Jack said finally before he finds her again. Inside, Keisha sat alone in the corner. She pulled out her phone. Thought about texting her mom. Thought about apologizing for something she didn't even do. Then her phone buzzed. Another message. Unknown number. Her heart stopped. She almost didn't open it, but she had to know. The message was a photo. Her house taken from outside. Lights on inside, her mom's car in the driveway, and below it, a caption. I know where she is. I know where you are. I know where everyone you love is. You can't hide from me, Keisha. You never could. Keisha's hands went numb. She stood up, stumbled to the door, and showed Jack the phone. He read it once, then again. His face didn't move, but his eyes went cold in a way that made everyone in the room go silent. He just made a mistake, Jack said quietly. What do you mean? Maya asked. Jack looked at the photo again, zoomed in. Look at the angle. He took this from across the street, probably from a car, and look at the reflection in the window. He pointed. In the glass of Keisha's living room window, barely visible, was the faint outline of a vehicle. Caleb leaned closer. I can enhance that. He pulled the image onto his laptop, ran it through a filter, sharpened the contrast. The reflection became clearer. Black sedan, same one. And behind it, just barely visible in the background, a street sign. Caleb cross-referenced it with maps of Keisha's neighborhood. He's parked on Pine 5th, Caleb said. Right now, Jack stood up. How far is that from here? 15 minutes, Ben said. Jack grabbed his jacket. Everybody moves now. Keisha's voice shook. What are you going to do? Jack turned to her, and for the first time his expression softened. We're going to end this, he said. One way or another. Maya stayed behind with Keisha. The rest of the crew mounted their bikes. Engines roared to life, headlights cut through the dark. And as they disappeared down the highway, Keisha stood at the window watching them go. She thought about her mom inside that house, unaware that a predator was parked across the street. She thought about the weeks of fear, the messages, the sleepless nights. And she thought about the fact that for the first time since this started, someone was actually fighting back. But deep down, a part of her wondered, what if it wasn't enough? What if Derek was always going to be one step ahead? What if tonight was the night everything fell apart? Her phone buzzed one last time. She looked down. Tell your friends I'll be waiting. Keisha's breath caught because suddenly she realized something that made her blood run ice cold. Derek wasn't running. He wasn't hiding. He wanted them to come. The ride to Keisha's neighborhood was silent except for the roar of engines. Jack led the pack. Ben and Ryan flanked him. Caleb and Ethan brought up the rear. 5 motorcycles cutting through the Georgia night like bullets. Jack's mind was racing, but his hands were steady on the handlebars. He'd been in situations like this before. Not exactly like this, but close enough. He knew what desperation looked like. He knew what happened when predators got cornered. And he knew Derek wasn't going to go quietly. Ben's voice crackled through the helmet comm. You think he's still there? He wants us to come, Jack said. So yeah, he's there. Could be a setup, Ryan added. I know, Jack replied. That's why we're not walking into it blind. They parked 2 blocks away, engines off, hidden in the shadow of a closed gas station. Jack pulled out his phone and called Detective Ramirez. She answered on the second ring. Morrison, it's almost 11 p.m. He's at Keisha Jackson's house right now, Jack said. Pine and 5th. He sent her a photo 20 minutes ago. He's parked across the street. There was a pause, then the sound of movement, keys jangling. I'm sending a unit right now, Ramirez said. Do not approach him. Do you hear me? Stay where you are and let us handle it. We're already here, Jack said. Morrison, we're not going to touch him, Jack cut in. But we're not leaving that girl's mother alone with a stalker parked outside her house either. He hung up before she could argue. The crew moved on foot, staying low, staying quiet. They approached from different angles. Caleb circled around the back alley. Ben and Ryan took the side street. Ethan stayed with the bikes, ready to move if needed. Jack walked straight down Pine, hands in his pockets, looking like just another guy taking a late-night walk. And there it was. The black sedan parked under a broken streetlight, engine off, windows dark. Jack could see the silhouette inside. A man sitting perfectly still, watching the house. Jack stopped on the corner pretending to check his phone. His heart was pounding, but his face stayed calm. Ben's voice came through the comm. "I've got eyes on him from the east. He hasn't moved." "Same from the west," Ryan added. Caleb's voice was quieter. "I'm in position behind the alley. If he runs, I'll see it." Jack took a breath. "Nobody moves until the cops get here. We just watch." But then something changed. The car door opened. Derek stepped out. Tall, calm. He stretched like he'd been sitting too long, then started walking toward Keisha's house. Jack's pulse spiked. "He's moving. What do we do?" Caleb asked. Jack didn't hesitate. "We stop him." Jack crossed the street, his boots hitting the pavement with purpose. Derek was halfway up the driveway when he heard the footsteps behind him. He turned. Jack stood 10 feet away, hands loose at his sides, eyes locked on Derek's. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Derek smiled. It was the kind of smile that didn't reach his eyes. "You must be Jack," Derek said. His voice was smooth, almost friendly. "Keisha's told me about you." "She didn't tell you anything," Jack said evenly. "Because she doesn't know you, and you're not going near that house." Derek tilted his head like he was considering something amusing. "You think you're protecting her," Derek said, "but you're just delaying the inevitable. She's mine. She always has been. She just doesn't see it yet." Jack's jaw tightened, but his voice stayed calm. "She's 16 years old and you're a predator. That's all you are." Derek's smile faded. "You don't know anything about me." "I know enough," Jack said. "Alabama, South Carolina, you've done this before. And every time you got away with it, but not this time." Derek's eyes went cold. "You think you scare me?" he said quietly. "You think showing up on motorcycles and playing hero is going to stop me?" Jack took a step forward. "I don't need to scare you," Jack said. "I just need to keep you here until the police arrive." Derek glanced past Jack, saw Ben and Ryan emerging from the shadows on either side, saw Caleb stepping out from the alley behind him. He was surrounded, and for the first time his confidence cracked. "This is harassment," Derek said, his voice rising. "You're threatening me. I'll file a report. You'll what?" Jack interrupted. "Tell the police that a group of concerned citizens stopped you from stalking a child. Go ahead." Derek's hands curled into fists. Jack could see it in his eyes. The calculation, the desperation, the realization that he'd been outmaneuvered. And then Derek did something Jack didn't expect. He ran, not toward the street, toward the house. He sprinted up the driveway, heading for the front door. Jack moved fast, but Derek was faster. He reached the door and started pounding on it. "Help! Someone help me! These men are attacking me!" Jack grabbed him by the shoulder and pulled him back. Derek swung wildly, his elbow catching Jack across the jaw. Jack staggered but didn't let go. Ben and Ryan closed in, pulling Derek away from the door. Inside the house, the lights came on. The door opened. Keisha's mom stood there confused, terrified. "What's going on?" she shouted. Derek twisted in their grip, his voice frantic. "They're trying to kill me. Please call the police." Jack held up a hand, breathing hard, blood on his lip. "Mrs. Jackson?" Jack said, his voice steady despite everything. "My name is Jack Morrison. Your daughter is safe with us. This man is Derek Malone. He's the one who's been stalking her." Keisha's mom looked between them, her face pale. I don't understand. Check your phone," Jack said. "Detective Ramirez called you an hour ago. She told you we were protecting Keisha. She told you about him." Keisha's mom pulled out her phone with shaking hands. scrolled. Her face changed. She looked at Derek. "You," she whispered. "You called me today." "You said, I was trying to warn you," Derek said quickly. "These people are dangerous. They've brainwashed your daughter." "Shut up," Keisha's mom said, her voice breaking. "Just shut up." She looked at Jack. "Where's my daughter?" "She's safe," Jack said. "I promise you." Sirens wailed in the distance. Derek heard them and went still. 3 police cars pulled up, lights flashing. Officers poured out, hands on their belts. Detective Ramirez stepped out of the lead car, her face hard. "Let him go," she said. Jack, Ben, and Ryan released Derek. He stumbled forward, trying to compose himself. "Detective, thank God," Derek started. "These men attacked me." "Derek Malone," Ramirez interrupted. "You're under arrest for stalking, harassment, and violation of a restraining order." Derek's face went white. "What restraining order?" "I haven't." "The one filed 2 hours ago on behalf of Keisha Jackson," Ramirez said, based on the evidence provided by Mr. Morrison and his associates. She nodded to the officers. They moved in, cuffing Derek's hands behind his back. "You can't do this," Derek said, his voice rising to a shout. "I haven't done anything. This is illegal. I'll sue every single one of you." Ramirez stepped closer, her voice low and cold. "You've been stalking a minor for 3 weeks. You sent threatening messages. You trespassed on private property. You created fake social media accounts. And you've been investigated for this exact behavior in 2 other states. So yes, Mr. Malone, I absolutely can do this." She turned to the officers. "Get him out of here." They dragged Derek toward the car. He was still shouting, still twisting, still trying to play the victim, but no one was listening anymore. As the police car pulled away, Jack turned to Keisha's mom. She was crying, shaking. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry. I didn't believe her. I thought she was exaggerating." "I thought you thought what any parent would think," Jack said gently. "But she was telling the truth, and now she's safe." Keisha's mom wiped her eyes. "Can I see her?" "Of course," Jack said. "I'll take you to her right now." When they arrived back at the shop, Keisha was standing at the window. She'd been watching the road for over an hour waiting. The moment she saw her mom step out of Jack's truck, she ran. They met in the middle of the parking lot, and Keisha collapsed into her mother's arms. "I'm sorry," her mom sobbed. "I'm so sorry." "It's okay," Keisha whispered. "It's over now." But even as she said it, even as she held her mom and felt the weight lift slightly off her chest, a part of her was still waiting for another message, another shadow in the window, another engine in the distance. Maya came up beside her and put a hand on her shoulder. "It's really over," Maya said quietly. "He's not coming back." Keisha looked at her, then at Jack, then at the rest of the crew standing nearby. Ben, Ryan, Caleb, Ethan, strangers a week ago, protectors now. And for the first time since this nightmare started, she let herself believe it. If you believe no one should face this kind of terror alone, if you believe people like Derek should never get away with it again, subscribe right now, because together we stand stronger, and stories like Keisha's deserve to be heard. 3 days after Derek's arrest, Keisha tried to go back to normal. She returned home, slept in her own bed, went back to school. But normal felt like a word from a language she'd forgotten how to speak. She jumped at every car that slowed down near her. She checked her phone compulsively, waiting for a message that wouldn't come. She woke up in the middle of the night, certain she'd heard footsteps outside her window. Her mom noticed. So did Maya, who'd been checking in daily. "It takes time," Maya told her over the phone. "Your brain is still protecting you. It doesn't know the threat is gone yet." "But it is gone, right?" Keisha asked quietly. "He's in jail." There was a pause. "He's in custody," Maya said carefully. His bail hearing is tomorrow. Keisha's stomach dropped. What does that mean? It means the judge will decide if he gets released until trial. He could get out. Maya's voice was firm. Detective Ramirez is fighting hard to keep him locked up and will be there at the hearing to make sure the judge knows exactly who he is. Keisha wanted to believe her, but she'd learned the hard way that the system didn't always work the way it should. The next morning, Jack, Maya, Ben, and Caleb rode to the courthouse. Keisha and her mom met them outside. Keisha looked pale, her hands shaking as she clutched her mom's arm. You don't have to go in, Jack said gently. We can represent you. But Keisha shook her head. I need to see him. I need to see him in handcuffs. I need to know he can't hurt me anymore. Jack nodded. Then we go in together. The courtroom was small, sterile, and cold. Derek sat at the defense table in an orange jumpsuit, his hands cuffed in front of him. His lawyer, a sharp-dressed man with a bored expression, sat beside him, flipping through papers. When Derek saw Keisha walk in, his eyes locked onto her. He didn't smile, didn't frown, just stared. Keisha felt her knees weaken, but Maya's hand on her shoulder kept her steady. Don't look at him, Maya whispered. He doesn't get that power anymore. But Keisha couldn't help it. She looked, and for a brief, horrible moment, she saw the same calm confidence he'd always had. Like none of this mattered. Like he knew something they didn't. The judge entered. Everyone stood. Judge Patricia Carr was a woman in her 60s, gray hair pulled back, reading glasses perched on her nose. She'd seen 1,000 cases like this, maybe more. She sat, reviewed the file, then looked up. This is a bail hearing for Derek Malone, charged with stalking, harassment, and violation of a restraining order. Counselors, make your arguments. The prosecutor went first, a young woman named Lisa Grant. She laid out the evidence clearly. Messages, photos, eyewitness accounts, Derek's prior investigations in other states. Your Honor, Mr. Malone is a demonstrated threat to the victim. He has a pattern of evading law enforcement and escalating his behavior. We requesting he be held without bail. Derek's lawyer stood, adjusting his tie. Your Honor, my client has no prior convictions. The allegations against him are based largely on circumstantial evidence and the testimony of individuals with no professional credentials. Mr. Malone is a respected software engineer with strong ties to the community. He's not a flight risk, and he deserves the presumption of innocence. Keisha's hands clenched into fists. The judge looked at the file again. Then at Derek. Mr. Malone, do you have anything to say? Derek stood slowly. When he spoke, his voice was calm, measured, almost sympathetic. Your Honor, I understand how this looks, but I've been falsely accused. I never meant to frighten anyone. I was simply trying to reach out to someone I thought needed help. If I made mistakes in how I communicated, I apologize. But I'm not a danger. I'm just a person who's been misunderstood. Keisha felt something break inside her. He was doing it again, twisting everything, making himself the victim. Before she could stop herself, she stood up. That's a lie. The courtroom went silent. The judge looked at her. Young lady, you're not. He's lying, Keisha said, her voice shaking but loud. He followed me for weeks. He sent me photos of myself that I didn't know existed. He stood outside my bedroom window in the middle of the night. He manipulated my mom. He tried to destroy my reputation online. And now he's standing here acting like he was just misunderstood. Her voice cracked, but she didn't stop. He did this to other girls in Alabama, in South Carolina, and they dropped the cases because he made them feel crazy because he convinced everyone that they were overreacting. But I'm not overreacting and I'm not crazy. He's dangerous, and if you let him out, he'll do this again. The judge studied her for a long moment. Sit down, please, she said, not unkindly. Keisha sat, her heart pounding, her hands shaking so hard she had to grip the bench to steady them. Her mom squeezed her hand. Maya leaned close and whispered, "You did good." The judge flipped through the file again. Then she removed her glasses and looked directly at Derek. "Mr. Malone, I've read the evidence. I've reviewed your history and I've listened to this young woman's testimony, and I find her far more credible than you." Derek's face twitched. "Bail is denied," Judge Carr said firmly. "I will remain in custody until trial, and if you're found guilty, I'll personally ensure you receive the maximum sentence allowable by law." She banged the gavel. Court adjourned. The courtroom erupted into quiet movement. Derek's lawyer started arguing, but the judge was already leaving. Officers moved to escort Derek out. As they led him past Keisha's row, he stopped, turned his head, looked right at her, and whispered just loud enough for her to hear. "This isn't over." Jack stood up immediately, stepping between them. "Keep moving," Jack said, his voice like steel. The officer pulled Derek forward, but he was still staring back at Keisha, his eyes cold and empty. And then he was gone. Outside the courthouse, Keisha stood on the steps, breathing hard, trying to process what had just happened. Her mom hugged her tight. "You were so brave in there." But Keisha didn't feel brave. She felt exhausted. Hollow. He said, "It's not over," she whispered. Jack stepped forward. "He's trying to scare you. That's all he has left, words. But what if he's going to trial?" Jack interrupted gently. "And he's going to lose. The evidence is overwhelming. The judge saw right through him. You did that, Keisha. You stood up and told the truth, and it mattered." Keisha looked at him, tears streaming down her face. "I was so scared." "I know," Jack said. "But you did it anyway. That's what courage is." Detective Ramirez approached them, her expression softer than usual. "You did well in there," she said to Keisha. "That took guts." "Will he really stay locked up?" Keisha asked. Ramirez nodded. "Until trial, and with the evidence we have, he's looking at serious time. Stalking, harassment, intimidation of a minor. He won't walk away from this." Keisha exhaled slowly. "Good." Ramirez glanced at Jack. "You and your crew did solid work. We couldn't have built this case without the evidence you gathered." Jack just nodded. "We did what needed to be done." Ramirez handed Keisha a card. "If you need anything, therapy, referrals, legal support, anything, you call me, okay?" Keisha took the card, her hands still shaking. "Thank you." As they walked toward the parking lot, Keisha stopped and turned to face the bikers. Jack, Maya, Ben, Caleb, the people who'd saved her when no one else would. "I don't know how to thank you," she said quietly. Maya smiled. "You already did. You survived. You fought back. That's everything." "Will I ever stop being scared?" Keisha asked. Jack looked at her for a long moment. "Maybe not completely," he said honestly, "but it gets quieter. The fear becomes smaller, and one day you'll wake up and realize you didn't think about him at all. That's when you'll know you won." Keisha nodded, wiping her eyes. Ben stepped forward, handing her something small. A keychain, a tiny silver motorcycle. "So you remember," he said simply. "You're not alone." Keisha closed her hand around it, feeling its weight. She looked at all of them. These strangers who'd become her protectors, her advocates, her proof that good people still existed. "I won't forget," she whispered. As they mounted their bikes and the engines roared to life, Keisha stood with her mom watching them ride off into the Georgia sun. For the first time in weeks, she smiled. Not because everything was perfect, not because the fear was gone, but because she knew deep in her bones that she was going to be okay. Derek Malone was sentenced 4 months later to 8 years in prison. Keisha testified at the trial. So did the bikers. So did the woman from Alabama, who'd finally found the courage to come forward after reading about Keisha's case online. The judge didn't go easy on him, and when the verdict was read, Keisha sat in the courtroom and exhaled for what felt like the first time in months. Justice sometimes does come. It just takes people willing to fight for it. 6 months later, the Georgia heat looked the same as it always did. Humid, golden, unforgiving under the afternoon sun. But Keisha Jackson wasn't the same person who'd run through it. Terrified and alone. She pulled her mom's car into the gravel lot outside the biker shop, the same place she'd stumbled into that day, gasping for help. The motorcycles were lined up like soldiers. The smell of oil and dust hung in the air, and standing near the open garage door, wiping grease from his hands, was Jack. He looked up when he heard the car, smiled slightly. "Didn't think we'd see you again," he said as Keisha stepped out. "I had to come back," she said, holding up a bakery box. "I owed you cookies," Jack laughed, a rare sound. "You didn't owe us anything." "Yes, I did," Keisha said firmly. "Inside, Maya was working on an engine. Ben and Caleb were arguing about something mechanical." Ryan was drinking coffee and shaking his head at both of them. When they saw Keisha, everything stopped. Maya dropped her wrench and crossed the room in 3 strides, pulling Keisha into a hug. "Look at you," Maya said, pulling back to study her face. "You look good." "Really good," Keisha smiled. "I feel better." "Most days?" "Most days is enough," Maya said softly. Ben walked over, hands in his pockets. "How's school?" "Hard," Keisha admitted, "but I'm keeping up. My grades are back to normal. I even joined the debate team." Caleb grinned. "After what you did in that courtroom, I'm not surprised." Keisha laughed, but there was weight behind it. "I didn't feel brave. I felt terrified." "That's the only time bravery matters," Jack said quietly. They sat together in the garage, sharing the cookies, talking about nothing and everything. Keisha told them about therapy, how hard it was at first, how she didn't want to talk about it, didn't want to relive it. But slowly, week by week, it started to help. "I still check my phone too much," she admitted. "I still look over my shoulder sometimes, but it's getting quieter like you said it would." Jack nodded. "It takes time, but you're doing the work. That's what matters." "My mom started therapy too," Keisha added. "She felt so guilty for not believing me at first, but we're working through it. We're closer now than we've ever been." Maya smiled. "That's good. Really good." There was a pause, a comfortable silence. Then Keisha asked the question she'd been holding on to. "Do you do this a lot? Help people like me?" Jack glanced at the others. They exchanged looks. "Not officially," he said. "But when someone needs help and the system isn't moving fast enough, yeah, we step in." "Why?" Keisha asked. Ben answered. "Because most of us have been on the other side of it. Not exactly the same, but close enough." Maya nodded. "I had an ex who wouldn't leave me alone. Restraining order didn't stop him. Cops said there wasn't much they could do until he did something. It was Jack and this crew who made sure I stayed safe until the law finally caught up." Keisha looked at Jack. "Is that why you started this?" Jack was quiet for a moment. "My daughter," he said finally. "She was 17 when a guy twice her age started following her around, sent her messages, showed up at her work. We went to the police, filed reports, did everything right. But it wasn't fast enough. His voice stayed steady, but his eyes carried weight. He cornered her one night in a parking lot. She fought him off, got away, but she shouldn't have had to fight at all." Keisha's throat tightened. "Is she okay?" "She is now," Jack said. "Took years, but she's okay. And I made a promise that night that I'd never let someone else's kid go through that alone if I could help it." Keisha looked around the garage. At these people who'd saved her life without asking for anything in return. "You gave me my life back," she said quietly. "No," Maya said. "You took it back. We just stood with you while you did." Keisha wiped her eyes, laughing a little. I promised myself I wouldn't cry. Crying's allowed, Ben said with a small smile. Before she left, Keisha pulled something from her pocket. A small silver keychain. The motorcycle Ben had given her outside the courthouse. I carry this everywhere, she said. It reminds me that I'm not alone, that there are people who care, who fight for strangers just because it's the right thing to do. She looked at each of them. I don't know if I'll ever be able to repay you, but I'll spend the rest of my life trying to be the kind of person who helps others the way you helped me. Jack stood and walked over to her. You already are, he said, just by surviving, just by standing up in that courtroom, just by being here today. You're proof that the fight is worth it. Keisha nodded, unable to speak. Jack put a hand on her shoulder. If you ever need us again, if the fear gets too loud, if something feels wrong, if you just need someone to listen, you know where we are. I do, Keisha whispered. As she drove away, the sun sinking low over the city. Keisha glanced in the rearview mirror. The bikers stood together in the lot, watching her go, not with sadness, with pride. She turned back to the road ahead. The highway stretched out in front of her, wide open, full of possibility. And for the first time in a long time, she wasn't afraid of what came next. Here's the thing about stories like this. They happen every day. Girls like Keisha, boys too. People who are followed, harassed, stalked, made to feel like they're losing their minds. And most of the time they face it alone. But they don't have to. There are people like Jack, like Maya, like Ben, Caleb, Ryan, and Ethan. People who see someone in trouble and refuse to look away. Sometimes they wear leather and ride motorcycles. Sometimes they're teachers, neighbors, friends. Sometimes they're strangers who just happen to be in the right place at the right moment. But they all have one thing in common. They believe that no one should have to fight alone. If this story touched you, don't leave quietly. Subscribe. Share it. Tell someone you know who might need to hear it. And in the comments, tell me, where are you watching from? What city? What country? Because these stories connect us. They remind us that across oceans and borders and languages, we all believe the same thing. That justice matters. That protection matters. That standing up for someone who can't stand up for themselves, that matters most of all. You are not alone. None of us are. And together we are stronger than any fear.